Andrew K.P. Long is the chairman and CEO. Andrew Long, International Consultants and Investments Limited, is now joining us live on the broadcast. Mr. Long, thank you very much for making time for us and welcome. Some critics see this summit in Russia as a turning point for both India and China. If both leaders do agree to hold a bilateral or any form of talk, it will be considered as a big breakthrough. What will be the impact if both leaders do indeed agree to sit and talk?
Well, let's first be clear on one point. The patrolling protocol agreement doesn't mean that the border disputes between India and China are thereby resolved, nor does it mean that the line of actual control would henceforth be clearly defined. I think these problems are going to remain for a very long time. But what it does mean is that both leaders are determined to scale down, to de-escalate the hostile relationship between the two nations. And at a time when the Global South is rising, of which the BRICS summit is a very important platform. Now, the rise of the Global South is a reflection of a changing world order. Not that the American leadership will thereby be sidelined or abandoned. America still leads in many different ways, in different areas and arenas, and not least, of course, the still dominance of the US dollar. But then the United States is finding it less and less able to call the shots at all times. And of course, that the nations in the Global South are becoming more economically viable, and they're able to safeguard their sovereignty. And that's the idea that the existing world order needs to be modified, and now rallying these countries together. Not that they are going to form a hard, solid bloc, because the idea of blocks doesn't work anymore. It is a multipolar, a multi-dimensional, and interdependent world.
Mr.
But it does
Long,
mean
before you continue,
that there are
Mr. Long,
themes that the developing nations can rally together. Yeah.
Mr. Long, before you continue, let me just go back to my point, because I don't think I've been answered on that. I did ask you if both leaders decide to meet and decide to talk, what will be the impact of that in the region?
Well, I think it's well expected, because you talk about the region in Asia, not least Southeast Asia. They don't want the two largest economies in Southeast Asia at loggerheads. And then, of course, the hope is still very strong amongst the neighbors of both India and China, that the two countries can find a way to get along with one another. So I don't think that this is a really something like a total surprise to neighbors in Southeast Asia. And I think that what binds all these nations together, as I was trying to point out, is the rise of the Global South in the context of a changing world order, so far dominated by the United States, with all its faults and all its wrongdoings and creating havoc in different areas. So I think that is very important as a major rallying point amongst all the countries in the Global South.
Mr. Long, just to take this conversation forward, why does this summit that has 36 world leaders in attendance matter to Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think that it is a salute to Putin that they're all coming together. I don't think that all the countries in the Global South support the Russians' military actions in Ukraine, but they don't want it. So they are likewise do not support the sanctions on Russia, as recently exemplified in the United Nations resolutions. But I think that the Global South are more than aware that the world doesn't translate into solid blocks. The idea of blocks don't work anymore. It is the whole world is multi-connected, interdependent, much more than before. I think what the Global South is trying to do is to rally themselves together in common areas of concern like trade or climate change or security and security, so that they can form fruitful partnership for one another, not to form a solid bloc against the West.
All right, I've been talking to Mr. Andrew K.P. Long. He's the chairman and CEO of Andrew Long International Consultants and Investments Limited. Mr. Long, thank you for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.